Luke, I have some wonderful news. Finally, things are getting back to normal. NBC News reports, yes, it's called HBO Max again. Finally. This is so good. I got so bored of calling it Max, formerly known as Twitter. So what they did, I believe, is it a U-turn? What's it called when full circle? That's what they've done, Luke. They've come full circle, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
Yeah, they finally realised that adding HBO to their streaming service made sense.
Because that is the name of the company, Luke.
Yeah, and of course HBO is a very good name for a brand. I mean, I just don't really know what... I think Warner Brothers owns HBO, so I don't really know what's been happening over there. Streaming continues to be a weird, wonderful, and wacky place.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are celebrating the 25-year anniversary. Of course it's not, because there is in fact a movie coming out relevant to this movie we're reviewing. I'm of course talking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, starring Ving Rhames, who plays the social worker in Lilo and Stitch. No, not really. There's a live-action Lilo and Stitch coming out, so that's why we're looking at this original Lilo and Stitch. Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Lilo and Stitch?
Certainly, Michael. So yeah, Lilo and Stitch is a 2002 American animated science fiction comedy drama film. Wow, there you go. Produced by Walt Disney and released by Walt Disney. It was written and directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBois in their directorial debut, and was created. Well, the original story was created by Sanders, which we will get to. So. It was, of course, and as you mentioned, Michael, we are doing this movie because of the release of the live-action Lilo and Stitch, which, of course, is what everyone is clamoring for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone was like, we need that live-action Lilo and Stitch, so thank God we've got it. We can sleep easy at night now. So it was directed by Chris Sanders and written by him. The story is by Chris Sanders, but it does not star Chris Sanders. It stars Davy Chase. Oh no, shit! It does. It actually does star Chris Sanders. That's funny. Yeah.
Who does it say who he plays?
I'll look that up in a sec.
It's presumably a minor character.
Yeah. It stars Tia Carrera, Ving Rhames, David Ogden Steers, Kevin McDonald, Jason Scott Lee, Zoe Caldwell, and Kevin Michael Richardson, which is, a great name. So, the movie was released on June the 21st, 2002 in the United States. So yeah, like 23 years ago. So we're not doing it for its 20-year anniversary. Well, I'll talk about that in a sec, actually. But Michael, can you guess what the budget was for Lilo and Stitch?
Well, I have no frame of reference for how expensive a movie like this was at a time like this. None of the acts... I mean, there's Ving Rhames. The two main actors aren't very famous, so... Let's say this movie cost 40 million.
Oh. Double that.
80 million, okay.
Yeah, because it's only 120 minutes long.
Yes.
So you'd expect it to... Wait, no, sorry. It's not. It's 1 hour, 20 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 120 minutes is 2 hours, Luke. You idiot. You stupid moron.
Thanks for correcting me there.
Yeah,
really,
I could, yes.
Really sharpish. So yeah, the budget, 80 million. So yeah, it's quite expensive. What about the box office?
Well, let's see. I don't remember this movie being like some insane hit, but they did make a TV show based on it. 280 million.
That is a really good guess.
Oh wow, lucky me.
Why did you guess that amount?
That was really completely... I think I was thinking 200, and then I thought, let's add on the box office. So I said 280. Oh, sorry,
okay.
Let's add on the budget, I mean.
Yeah, I get you, yeah. So the box office was 273 million.
Oh, lovely.
Wow, that's incredible. What a guess. Well, yeah, because the total isn't that incredible, but, it's a good guess. By the way, Chris Sanders plays Stitch, as I kind of thought. Yeah, he might, yeah. He does all the Stitch noises.
Yes, anyone could do that.
Anyone could. Go on, give me a Stitch impression.
Hello, Luke, I'm happy to be... I made him sound like Jordan Peterson. Hello, my name is Stitch, and I'm happy to be with Luke. I don't know, he just has like a weird, like kind of strange, generic cartoony voice, I don't know.
Lilo, masculinity is in crisis. What?
I don't know why you made him sound like Rick from Rick and Morty. Lilo, masculinity is in crisis. We gotta get to the butt planet.
I was trying to do a Jordan Peterson impression.
I know you were, but you made it. Your Jordan Peterson sounds like Rick from Rick and Morty.
Morty.
Morty, we gotta deal with the lobsters and clean your room, bucko. Anyway, that's fun.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Yeah. Have you seen the Australian version of Rick and Morty?
No. Like, is that like a
Morty?
Like...
We gotta go to Bendigo, Morty. Sorry, just because I saw that recently, and yeah, it's great. You know, it's a real good take on Rick and Morty. But anyway, how did we get here to Australian Rick and Morty?
We're talking about the fact that the director or like writer, producer, whatever, plays Stitch, and I said, well, you know, that's not impressive because anyone can do Stitch. Yeah. But maybe they can't actually. Maybe I've changed my mind. Maybe it's really impressive he didn't accidentally invent Rick and Morty.
We will now move on to looking at whether we liked this movie. So, Michael, did you like Lilo and Stitch?
Not really. I think this movie is just like, it kind of is one of those things where it almost doesn't fully feel like a movie, especially like compared to your typical Disney, because it's like not that much happens, and I feel like it's kind of like a family thing. Or it's like about like the personal drama. I was expecting that, I guess this would just be E.T., right? I was expecting the government to get involved, and they don't, which is fine. The problem is it means there's no like real, like the plot is very weird, and there's the family drama. The problem is like when you look at the characters, you've got a little girl who's not that, like she's an idiot, and then you've got an alien who's also an idiot. So like neither of them really have like much agency. And they're just kind of hectic, which is entertaining, but it's not a great thing to like have your whole emotional drama hinge on. And then you just got Nani, she's just doing
like
the best
the Man
she can.
United footballer Nani.
Yeah,
it's
Nani.
Like
yeah. Is he from Portugal?
Yes.
Thank you. That's good. So she must be from Portugal too. Honestly, like I'm pretty comfortable saying I didn't really like it, and I didn't really get much out of it. And I thought it would be more fun than it was. So that's me.
So, did you see this movie when you were a kid then?
I did not see this movie when I was a kid. So, interestingly, it's in my blind spot.
Is this the first time you've seen this movie then?
Yes. Interestingly, Luke, and this is incredibly interesting. I'm sure you'll agree in a moment. As you know, I'm a nervous flyer. Everyone knows that about me. So what I often do...
You're nervous at fucking everything.
Yeah, exactly. But especially flying. So what I do is I like to have movies that I watch on the plane, but I'm very particular about, you know, like watching movies that are just completely chill, no like excitement, no drama, nothing like that. So I've been working my way through over a series of flights the various Disney films I haven't watched. And
so wait, so if you're flying from Japan, you're not watching Oppenheimer then?
No, I'm not exactly. Okay. No, because I respect that culture. I'm no Logan Paul, unlike you. But yeah, so essentially, this movie was actually basically the next one on my aeroplane watch list, and then you were like, "Oh, we're reviewing it," and I was like, "Well, you know, whatever." But yes, I would have been watching this on aeroplane, and you know, it wouldn't have made me anxious, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it on an aeroplane either. But yes, the point is that I haven't ever seen this movie before, Luke.
Okay, so I have seen this movie
many times before.
Yes, many times before, indeed. And, well, no, actually, just I think I don't actually know how often I've seen this movie, because I saw it, I think, in the cinema when I was a kid. I think I remember seeing this movie. Wow. And I think I had it on, not DVD, what's the other? Just
VHS.
Yeah, VHS, yeah. I think I had it on VHS. So, for me, yeah, I was like, oh, they're remaking Lilo and Stitch, you know? I remember seeing that as a kid, you know. It's a classic. People like it. So
yeah, and you were guaranteed to show up. You would have been there opening night, because that's what Disney deserves, to make lots of money by making things that you remember from your childhood again.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm a big fan of the 2019 Lion King, of course, for instance, and love all the new Disney remakes. You know, they're classics in their own mind, in their own light. What was the phrase? In their own right. In their own right. Did I say? I said light.
You said. I think you said might first, and then light.
Okay, we almost like, yeah. But so I thought we'd review this Lilo and Stitch movie because, you know, there's a remake coming out. This was a movie I remember seeing as a kid. Hadn't watched it in a while, and then so the thing is, which we've already mentioned, it's not that long at all, and to be honest, not a lot happens in the actual movie. and also I think your analysis is quite accurate regarding the two main characters are idiots. So
Good.
yes. So for me, I was watching this and thinking, this isn't that good actually. Like,
okay, this is good. It shows. So we've got both bases covered: the cynical adult, and then the starry-eyed child now turned into a cynical adult.
yeah, well, of course, I can imagine as a kid you could really like this, and I'm gonna get into some reviews from some of the critics, which
From children.
Roger Ebert is not a child. No, it's because I think it's got like 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like it's a well-reviewed movie, and I remember liking it as a kid. I was like, oh, this will be good. It won't be bad, and maybe it's not bad, but it's just, again, it feels like nothing happens, and it feels kind of rushed or underdeveloped. To be honest with you, it's not like other classic Disney movies from the 90s. No, and I think those movies from the 90s have a good reputation, and we have reviewed some of them, and we really enjoy some of those movies. I think in particular The Lion King, I think we like a lot.
Yes. Little Mermaid is fine. The Aristocats, no, that's not even from this time period.
Mulan is sound. There are some good, well, of course, because it's called the Disney Renaissance. Yes, there are some really good Disney movies.
Tarzan, Mulan.
Yeah, from the 90s. Beauty and the Beast, there's another. We don't
Blanche
really...
Black of Bloat Blame.
Yes, the Hunchback. And of course the culturally sensitive Pocahontas.
Yes. Have we mentioned Aladdin yet? I think that's the only one we haven't mentioned.
Yeah, Aladdin. Yeah. Well, basically there was a Disney Renaissance and all those memorable movies came out and everyone liked them. And again, this movie came out in 2002, so we're past the 90s. And yeah, it just feels like there was a lack of effort put in, or the story was just, like I said, underdeveloped. And it does not hit the same, despite having quite a good reputation. And of course, it's getting a remake, so people like it. And I kind of found that unfortunate, because I think there is potential here. Honestly, there is potential to tell a really good story, because I like the setting of Hawaii. I like the dynamic with. Well, maybe not the dynamic necessarily. I like the character of Stitch. I don't know if the dynamic between Lilo and Stitch is that good, from my perspective at least, watching it as an adult. But, you could do something with this here. And it just feels like they just didn't put in, again, maybe not putting in the effort. That would be harsh. But they just did not maximize what they could have here. And so, yeah, I kind of was watching this movie and I was like, holy shit, like I'm already halfway through and like nothing's happened, And it's like you'd expect like it to be the opening act, and it's like, no, we're already halfway through the movie, because everything wraps up very quickly. So yeah, it was unfortunate. So I did not really enjoy this as much as I hoped, Michael. Does that all make sense to you? No,
absolutely. And I think even if I had nostalgia goals on, I mean, there are plenty of films which I did enjoy, which I did see as a kid, and I can as an adult be like, oh, this isn't so great. But you know what, Luke? It's very big of you to have told your past self that he was a moron. It takes a lot of strength to do that.
I don't really have nostalgia for this movie because I don't really remember it.
Okay, yeah.
So like I don't, because I watched this when I was like a small kid. Like I don't remember like any of it. Well, of course I remember the basics, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it was the first rewatch in like probably like 20 years or over that. So I don't have nostalgia for it. But,
okay, in that case, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, but the thing is, as a kid, I remember liking it, and I think, to be honest, if you were a kid, you would like this, because Stitch is a character which I think you could definitely get on board with, because he's just so funny. He's just doing all this crazy shit. So yeah, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I can definitely see why if you were a kid, you'd like this. But I can't, like, that's the thing. Like if you were an adult, you couldn't really watch some of these classic Disney movies and enjoy them. I just can't imagine as an adult you could have the same viewpoint, or just you could have the same enjoyment watching Lilo and Stitch compared to, again, some of the 90s Renaissance Disney movies.
I mean, and honestly, even if you compare it to like movies around it, like some of these I've seen, in fact I've actually seen, I've seen 2 movies either side of it, The Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Treasure Planet, and Brother Bear. And having seen those, I remember not having any particular dislike, or like basically I was like, oh, these are like entertaining, there's stuff happening. So I would say that they're better. Yes, that's my take.
Let us now get onto nitpicks or litpicks. How many do you have, Michael?
I have 2 nitpicks.
Go for it.
1, getting a dog while already struggling to maintain a home just with a child is a very bad look. Nani's like, oh, I just had this social worker around and he's upset about the fact that the house is super dirty and stuff. So let's get a dog that's like a foster dog. So, maybe it's just like shits in the house because it's traumatized or something. I don't know. But, you know, I would say a foster dog requires a certain level of care that would mean that you shouldn't get one when you're already, according to the state, which is right about everything, struggling to take care of your hectic child. That is my opinion. And I think this woman deserves to have her sister taken away from her. My second one is I wrote, what even is the Hawaiian accent? It sounded, I was like listening to it and I was like, I don't know how I expected it to sound, but some of these guys, it's so strange because it's like sometimes it sounded inconsistent because like obviously the main characters, they just sound like generic Americans, but the surfer guy obviously has his own voice, but I swear like some of the Hawaiian people, they didn't even sound like they had the same accent as each other. Okay. Like sometimes they'd sound kind of Australian. I swear like one of them sounded like they were from Birmingham. Anyway. Okay,
well, so Jason Scott Lee is the guy that plays the surfer, the male surfer, and he is Chinese.
Like, I have no in my head. I'm like, I guess there is I mean, obviously there's got to be a Hawaiian accent, but it just comes across like a load of people failing to do a different accent. But maybe that's what the Hawaiian accent sounds like. How would anyone know? Because has anyone ever met a native Hawaiian? No. You know, maybe this is back when they existed. Maybe this is what they sounded like.
Okay, yeah, just on the voices, because you mentioned it before. Obviously, I think there wasn't any controversy back in 2002 because nothing was woke. But so Daveed Chase plays Lilo. Daveed Chase is white.
That's horrifying.
And she is not Hawaiian.
Yeah, and she doesn't do any kind of accent.
Yeah, she's not Polynesian. Is that the ethnic group from Hawaii? Polynesian, I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, they are. Yeah, they are Polynesian. They got around.
Yeah, they did get around. You know, you can definitely say that. Chris Sanders is a Stitch, and he's not an alien. He's white as well.
That's racist.
Tia Carrera as Nani.
She looks Hawaiian.
Tia Carrera?
Well, she also, if you actually look at her like on Google Images, which I'm currently doing right now, she looks as if she's had insane amounts of plastic surgery. So.
Oh, well, that's great. Like all Hawaiians.
Exactly. that's their phenotype.
But she is from Honolulu, so Lovely. She was cast correctly.
Yeah, and she sounds like how I would imagine a Hawaiian person sounds, because it's just kind of American but slightly different, as opposed to all the other people where they're just going for it.
Yes. So yeah, maybe if Jason Scott Lee, you know, well, look, he's Chinese. It's kind of close to. He was born in Los Angeles. Oh no, shit, he was raised in Hawaii.
There's lots of Chinese people in Hawaii.
Yeah, and is of Hawaiian and Chinese descent. Okay, I see. So it said on his Wikipedia page, it had his name in Chinese. So I'm like, okay, he's obviously Chinese, and he looks kind of
Hawaiian.
Yeah, he looks kind of Chinese, but he's not. Well, he is, but he's also.
And he was born in Los Angeles, California. But yeah, I guess
which is close to Hawaii.
It is close. And then he attended school at Pearl... Oh, I thought it was going to be Pearl Harbor. No, Pearl City. he attended school at Pearl Harbor. That was very traumatic for him.
Oh, dear. Right, so let us now get into... so actually, before we do that, there was some controversy maybe regarding the fact that, you know, some of the... Well, particularly Lilo's character was played by a white girl and not a Hawaiian girl. And hopefully they fix that in the live-action remake. Otherwise,
very hard to pull off.
Yeah, there will be some controversy there, let me tell you. So let's get into the plot.
The film tells the story of two individuals, an orphaned Hawaiian girl named Lilo Palakai, who is raised by her struggling older sister, Nani, after their parents' death, and the genetically engineered extraterrestrial creature Experiment 626, who Lilo adopts as her dog and renames Stitch. Stitch, who was designed to cause chaos and destruction, initially uses Lilo to avoid recapture by an intergalactic federation. They develop a close bond through the Hawaiian concept of ohana, or extended family, causing Stitch to reconsider his intended destructive purpose in order to keep his newfound family together. Yes, that is indeed the premise.
So he becomes part of a family, and therefore he thinks, you know what, I don't want to be a destructive creature, you know. I want to be part of this family. I want to love.
Family is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's a movie about family.
Yes,
that's what makes it. What is that?
At the end of the day, it's a movie about ohana.
What is that quote from Carrie?
That's a Princess. Carrie Fisher. I guess it must be. I mean, it's from the Star Wars.
I think it's from The Last Jedi.
Yeah, presumably. That's not really about family.
But no, it is. That's what makes it so special.
That's true.
Yeah, but so again, Stitch. You know, he's this hopeless thing, but because of the Hawaiian concept of ohana, that you welcome people into your family, which it kind of screwed them over because they've been colonized.
I was gonna say I call it being cucked. That's what I call it. Ohana.
But yeah, so Hawaiians struggle to live in Hawaii now because everything is so expensive.
They're strangers in their own land.
It's the most expensive U.S. state. Did you know?
Really? I tell you what though, brilliant flag, like 10 out of 10.
Oh, because of the British thing.
Yeah, isn't that so cool? Like, wouldn't it be great if Hawaii was part of England and we could just go there and be like, I'm still in England. That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome for sure.
Yeah. Hong Kong too. That would be fun. Anyway.
Yeah. So, well, just to say, by the way, in terms of the plot, yeah, it's about Stitch just becoming connected to Lilo and embracing Lilo, and that is, and because of this concept of ohana. What is it? Yeah, that's it. Ohana, right? Yeah, and therefore, he becomes one of them, and that
one of them.
Well, he does, and that is the plot essentially. And of course he's trying to get recaptured by these two aliens who want him. But that's it, really.
You mean trying to not get recaptured? I think you said trying to get recaptured.
Oh yeah, trying to avoid getting captured.
Yes,
but that's the thing. That is just the plot. Well, actually, there is something else that is going on with the, you got the social worker Ving Rhames who wants to try and see if Nani is doing a good job, and considering how good she was as a Man United forward in her later years, maybe she should get some slack. Some very good goals. I actually saw Nani score a goal live.
Oh really? Where was that? Was that at the Old Trafford?
Yeah. It was. He scored a shot from like 30 yards out and then did a backflip. Against Middlesbrough, they won 4-1. What a great result. Yeah, what a great day. My
memory was that Nani was a little bit of a twat. Is that accurate? Like he kind of he was a bit aggressive and...
Well, he wasn't aggressive. He was just very skillful. He had 5-star skills. But anyway,
okay. I just remember a World Cup where I had a strong sense of disliking him, but anyway, Luke, let's talk brass tacks here. The reality is
you just want to get onto the development, don't you?
Do you think I don't. Do you think I think, like, in my head, I kind of mentioned E.T. and I was just like, E.T., blah, 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 but I didn't address the real thing, which is, like, actually, the E.T. comparison, I feel like it must have really constrained them, because I was just like, I would have thought the government would get involved, but E.T., like, I feel like, actually, when you think about it, a little, like, loner kid who's, like, struggling with life and stuff and then befriends an alien, that, sure, in theory, that's quite a broad concept, but I don't know, maybe they did feel constrained.
Yeah, so I think you're right in terms of they didn't want it to be similar to E.T., so they obviously thought of that and they were like, well, we can't have the government get involved. But the government is kind of involved because it's
the social workers, yeah.
Yes, it's a social worker, but yeah. So they didn't want to go down to the ET path, which makes sense. But yeah, that maybe does constrain them. Maybe it does limit what they can do in the movie. But it's better to be limited than be accused of plagiarism. So yeah, that's good. Anyway, let's get on to the development of Lilo and Stitch.
In 1985, Chris Sanders created the character Stitch for a children's book. The story was about a mysterious creature living alone in a forest, but he abandoned the project. In 1997, Disney executives attended a retreat at Michael Eisner's Vermont farm to brainstorm future projects. Thomas Schumacher proposed a smaller-scale film, the Dumbo for our generation, and approached Sanders to lead this new project. Schumacher asked Sanders what he wanted to develop, and Sanders recalled his old children's book idea. He initially pitched Stitch crash landing into a forest and living alone in rural Kansas, but Schumacher suggested setting it in a human world to better contrast the alien character. Sanders also originally paired Stitch with a boy, but changed to a girl for better contrast and conflict. Oh yeah, that's definitely the only reason why they changed from a boy. He chose Hawaii as the new setting, inspired by a recent vacation and a map on his wall. You know what's really interesting about that, Luke? They're actually, the movie The Wild Robot, that's actually about a robot who crash lands in the wilderness in a basically post-human world and basically has to make friends with the animals. Okay. So essentially it seems like the original plan would have been a very similar idea to that, where he might not have... Well, things like rural Kansas, like that means like farms. That's not...
Well, it's fucking Superman, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yes, yeah, rural Kansas, right? Alien crash lands in rural Kansas, yeah.
Yeah. So they were trying to replicate Superman. That's why he got his idea, I imagine. By the way, something you did not see is a new Superman trailer has come out.
Well, you know what? I saw like a lot of first look at blah 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 in Superman, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and people are saying it doesn't look good.
Yeah, so I really hope it's bad. I said this to you already because I like when franchise movies are bad because it means that you're going to maximize people's anger, which is always more entertaining.
Okay, so why do you think though that Lilo was changed from a boy to a girl? Because is it the fact that they didn't want to copy E.T.? Is that it?
That was my like first thought. I'd be like, that's. I think. I mean, I don't know if there's really any other reason to like specifically be like, oh, a girl works better for this story. I think like having a much younger kid works well because obviously in E.T., kind of like I said, Elliot's not as small. Like here, you've basically got. I don't know how old Lilo's supposed to be. And I actually had a thought on that, which is
like I imagine like 6 or 7.
Okay, 6, yeah. Because I was going to say the one thing that I was thinking was weird about Lilo, and I'll mention this now, could have been a nitpick, but I don't care. Is that she obviously remembers their dad, but at the same time, the social worker implies that there have been several previous social worker visits. So I was thinking, like, how long ago did her parents die?
Well,
and,
maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I guess that means like her, her dad was like, so like that would imply she was like 4 when her dad died. But obviously, it's just, I was just thinking like she seems very young. Whatever, who gives a shit? Anyway, the point is, to answer your question, the only reason I can think of to specifically change from a boy to a girl would be to avoid it being Lilo and Stitch. I don't think there's any other plot reason.
Well, maybe the boys identify with Stitch and the girls identify with Lilo,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I mean,
so you got to imagine me saying that, and I've got a cigar in my mouth. I'm a movie executive. It's like,
it sounds kind of misandrous, though, to suggest that boys would identify with this agent of destruction.
Yeah, well, exactly. I am a misandrist.
You hate men. You would.
no. But, well, is it bad if a boy is an enemy of just what's the phrase you used?
I said agent of destruction.
Agent of destruction. Yeah.
I guess boys do like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to test stuff down to build a better world.
Yeah, exactly. So. That's true. Yeah, maybe Stitch was a revolutionary.
Yes. Yeah, they took away his revolutionary spirit.
Yeah,
he was going to tear down the capitalist West.
What about like Lilo and Stitch, but it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it just ends with him like he's had a lobotomy, and he just like anyway, and Lilo's like, I can't bear to see him like this, and then kills him anyway.
Right, well, classic. That would be more depressing for sure.
Yes,
but yeah, just to sum up on the development, I think obviously they made some good choices setting it in Hawaii. Again, did they maximize what they could have done? No. And I can't really imagine Lilo, not being a girl. It would be weird if, Lilo was a boy. So I think they made the right choice with, the girl. And the fact that, of course, she is sisters with Nani. That is something which is relatively unique up until then in American cinema. That's what I read on Wikipedia. So there you go. Disney.
Yeah, I could see that.
They'd like to cover all their angles, create new stories. Well, not anymore, but back in the day they did. So yeah, it makes sense they went down this path. But shall we get into the script now?
Yes, we absolutely should. On planet Turo, not to be confused with Truro, which is in Cornwall, the United Galactic Federation convicts evil scientist Dr. Jumba Jukaba of illegal genetic experimentation. He has created Experiment 626, an aggressive and near indestructible creature with advanced learning capabilities. Initially, Stitch was the leader of an intergalactic gang with Jumba as a former crony, but this was changed to Stitch being Jumba's creation due to test audience feedback. So the plan would have been for Stitch to be kind of like almost like a kind of gangster character who'd like show up and be like, oh, see here, see, this is what you gotta do. You gotta, like kind of like a bad boy almost.
Yeah,
like
so
the other Disney classic, Oliver and Company.
Yeah, he would have had a leather jacket, He would he would have smoked, And,
yeah, see, that's like, you read that and you're like, oh, that's a terrible idea. Like, imagine having him be a gangster. Like, what do you want to do? But I actually do see the logic there of it gives him more of a character, and it's kind of like, it's like, I mean, it's a like Lady and the Tramp or whatever. They've done this like archetype of like, oh, it's a bad boy. The problem is, like, usually that's in like a romantic context. So, yeah, okay.
Wow. Okay. You said we weren't going to go down that path, but then
I didn't want to go down that path. You forced me to.
It's just your fucking weird brain. I did want to ask. So why did Dr. Jumba Jukiba, if that is the way you pronounce his name, I don't want to be offensive, but yeah, why did he create this destructive animal? He's just an evil scientist, I guess. Like he's evil. He's a scientist. He creates something really destructive. I don't know why.
Do you know like the whole thing about like the Nation of Islam and how like they think that Jacob, like the biblical prophet Jacob, created white people? Like, have you heard of that? And they call it like, okay, that's like, oh, that's so funny. So basically, you know, like the Nation of Islam are kind of like the Mormons of Muslims, in that they have like some kind of wacky ideas. They think that Jacob, who they call Jacob, was an evil scientist who was black and he lived in Africa and he created white people because he wanted to create the most evil race of all time. And that's where white people come from. So
so is this what Dr. Jumba Jakiba?
Well, I just think like Jakiba kind of sounds like Jacob, so I'm thinking like maybe this guy's like, maybe this is Nation of Islam.
Okay, maybe he is a Nation of Islam. That would be fun, especially just after 9/11. But yeah, again, is this the most destructive animal you could have created?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not that great.
Yeah, like he's small and he's not that ferocious. He's not a predator. So I think he could have done a better job. But whatever, it's a stupid kids movie, and that is perhaps what I'm going to be saying quite a few times when we criticize this movie.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah, because basically, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, maybe this is a very peaceful planet. This is like, I mean, like it's implied, like the thing that really kicks him over the edge is that it's implied he says like a swear word. And
yes.
Anyway. 626 is sentenced to exile on a desert asteroid, but he escapes and hijacks a space cruiser that crash lands on Kauai.
Wow, that's such a racist pronunciation.
Kauai. I think it would be Kauai.
Kauai.
Kauai. Hawaii. On the planet Earth. Shortly after landing on Earth, 626 is hit by 3 passing trucks and taken to an animal shelter. The Federation's Grand Councilwoman offers Jumba an early release if he retrieves 626 with the assistance of the Council's Earth expert, Agent Pleakley. Let me give this movie a compliment, Luke. I really found it very funny. The Earth exists as a mosquito wildlife sanctuary, and the only way in which they regard humans as having any value is as mosquitoes' food. Like, I just thought that was actually a moment where I was like, something about that's just really funny to me, that instead of just being like, oh wait, no, it's filled with like intelligent civilized people, like, no, the mosquitoes eat them, so you can't kill them or else the mosquitoes could die. That was hilarious to me.
The joke really falls flat there when you think about malaria.
I actually did think that in my head. I was like, it's really funny that they're talking about like, hey, we put these mosquitoes there to kill them.
Do you think sub-Saharan babies in Africa would find this joke funny? I don't think so.
That's actually a really, really good point. Like, no one really, everyone always says, oh, they had a white woman play Lilo. No one complains, or white girl, no one complains about the real offensiveness in this movie, which is making light of the prevalence of mosquitoes.
Yes, and malaria and everything, yeah. So again, I would not do that. But then again, this is Disney's pre-woke era when anything goes. But yeah, so the Agent Pleakley Jumba thing, is that a good comedy duo? I mean,
no. I mean, they're just so like, I guess the crazy guy is like a just like a generic kind of like Russian sounding like, oh, we must be doing the experiments to come up with the idea or whatever. And then the thing is, so I would say the real weak thing is that like Earth expert guy. Apart from that mosquito joke, he's like not actually funny at all.
Wow.
Like he's not got like a big so like in my head the people I'm immediately comparing them to are, is it like Pain and Panic in Hercules?
I think so, yeah.
And they're kind of, or like Timon and Pumbaa. There's like lots of, like, you think about any other like Disney comedic duo and use that as your frame of reference, and I think you'd be like, these guys aren't as entertaining. But like part of the issue is that necessarily the structure of the film means they can't really have that much to do, because if the only thing they're there to do is capture Stitch, and as soon as they do that, the film's like basically over. So there's not really like actually that far you can go with it.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Again, one of my criticisms was the film's underdeveloped. This could have been more developed. Why did Jumba do what he did? Agent Pleakley, maybe he could just be a comic relief character. But yeah, I guess, in the pantheon of Disney comedy duos, this is not the S tier or the A tier of comedy duos. Yeah, he's so, and I just put Stitch, or 626 or whatever as he's called right now. He's like a rabid ET, I guess. They make a joke about rabies at the beginning. Yeah, they do.
And again, rabies also kills millions of people. So, well, not millions, but it kills a good number of people.
I don't think it kills millions of people. Yeah.
No, I am wrong. You can make fun of me. Anyway, on Kauai. What's that thing they say in Japan? Kawaii. Like, being cute. Oh, you're so kawaii.
Yeah.
Orphan teenager Nani Pelikai struggles to take care of her lonely, rambunctious younger sister Lilo following their parents' death in a car crash. Social worker Cobra Bubbles doubts Nani can be an adequate guardian for Lilo and threatens to place Lilo in foster care if the Pelikai's situation fails to improve. I kind of thought to myself, depending on how old Nani is, maybe she could at least spend some of the time in foster care with Lilo. I mean, I don't know, she's got a job. They say, like, teenager. How old do you think? I mean, no, that's not. She's. Would she be in like foster care? I guess what I was thinking, because having said that though, I guess she must be like at least 16. Otherwise, she wouldn't. Like it would just be not even a question of whether or not she can raise the kid.
Well, no, obviously, well, she's not in high school, is she? So I thought
she's a worker.
She'd be like 19 or 20.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, they say orphan teenager because I would have assumed like she could be as old as 20, but apparently officially she's a teenager.
Okay, yeah, but I will say, you know, on the whole, well, let's talk about the social worker Bubbles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a fun concept which I kind of like because again, this movie was kind of just frustrating in how nothing really happened. So the Bubbles thing was interesting. It's like okay, like you got this. Imposing former CIA agent and like a social worker. That's very interesting. It's a very fun concept. I think maybe they like thought they had to have a CIA agent in the movie, and they also had to have a social worker in the movie, so they thought they'd mash them together.
I think that makes sense. And I do kind of like the idea. I wouldn't say he's like got a heart of gold at all, but like he's very stern, but he's not like evil. Like he's not a villain by any means, which is nice.
I like the fact he's not a villain. Yes.
Yeah, you could say he's too lenient.
Yes.
Could say that actually maybe, you know, what if Lilo gets killed by, you know, like a house fire and he says, oh, maybe actually I should have taken her away away.
Yeah, he says you've got 3 days to improve the situation, but I don't know what would happen in those 3 days for things to be dramatically improved.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah. It's kind of like he's just giving them false hope.
Yeah, cruel.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the biggest villain of all.
Okay, right. Well, so we're going to talk about how the UK influenced this movie, more than just the Hawaiian flag, yeah.
A scene where Nani chases Lilo was modified for the UK release in order for the film to secure a universal certificate from the British Board of Film Classification. In the original, Lilo hid in a clothes dryer, which was changed to a commode with a cupboard to avoid influencing children to hide in dryers. The UK edit has since become the standardised version of the film across all regions, as it would be used for the film's Disney Plus release. That's interesting, because the version I watched, she hid in a clothes dryer.
Yeah, same.
Okay, that's yes. So clearly, the UK police, UK fucking what's called nanny state couldn't stop us from hiding in clothes dryers.
They're not doing their job. Like, what if I showed this to one of my nieces or nephews? Unfortunately, I have loads.
Hundreds.
Well, come down there. Yeah, we could show it to people. Well, yeah, kids.
And basically murder them.
Yeah, and murder them. So that's our plan. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
You know, I don't mind. I don't mind some government oversight. I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you're gonna call the problem with that is, I'm pretty sure I remember growing up that the Tom and Jerry like things, they had a big old, because I had a Tom and Jerry cassette, and that had the big old green. It was green. Do you remember? It was a green triangle and it had a U on it to tell you that it was for everyone. But Tom and Jerry, surely that influences kids to do. I guess maybe it's because they don't look like actual kids, so they can get away with it.
Yeah, that it's a cat and a mouse.
Yeah. Also, it had blackface in it, so
it did. Yes.
It's for everyone.
Yes. I think I saw someone on Twitter get mad at this. The fact that there was 2 different versions of Lilo and Stitch, and they were like, "Why?" Maybe they called it like woke. The fact that it changed.
It's woke. The government's stopping me from hanging out in a dryer.
It's woke bullshit. Yeah. Which is interesting, but of course, I support the fact that we're not letting kids just go into washing dryers. We're standing up against that, which is a real problem in society.
Really, it's just that they should do it, but with parental guidance. That should be the rule.
Yes.
Or once they're at least 12.
Yeah.
Yes. So, after overhearing Lilo wishing for a friend, Nanny brings her to an animal shelter to adopt a dog. Lilo adopts 626, who is impersonating a dog, and names him Stitch. Yeah, like I say, this should not be Nanny's top priority right now. And actually, I didn't really say this yet, but I hate Lilo. I mean, she's okay. The thing about Lilo is like, you know that she obviously doesn't want to be taken away, but she's still complaining, and Nani's just accommodating her.
Yeah, to be honest, like Lilo. So if I was Nani, I would kind of not want to take care of Lilo. Like I would kind of like want her to, just go and live in a foster home or whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because like it
no
must
questions asked.
You're basically you're a parent. You're a full-time parent, and you're like 19 or whatever. And it must be so shit. So, but whatever. The movie wants them to stay together because it's all about family. Ohana, it would be against Ohana, and maybe you can have a scene where Nani talks about how she promised her parents she'd look after. Actually, no, because they died in the car.
Like she runs up to them and just says, "I will look after Lilo. I won't intentionally send her off to a foster home so that I can hang out and party.
If we die in a car crash." Please look after Lilo.
That's like the talk for them. That's like the birds and the bees. Just like, I need you to know something.
So you want to talk about Lilo again? She's annoying. We'd get rid of her in a second if we were a sibling.
Yes.
But let's talk about Stitch, because why is he called Stitch? Is it because he's broken and he needs fixing? Is that why? Do we think Stitch is a good character? You said you don't like Lilo, and that's fair.
Yes, here's what I like about Stitch. I'll tell you one thing I like about Stitch, Luke. I like how Stitch loves, like he feels a natural drive to be like a Godzilla-style monster, but then he's really small. Like, I thought it was, like, the moment that stands out for me as endearing for Stitch is when he builds, like, that fake miniature city, and then he just, like, trashes it, and you get the impression that, like, for him, it kind of reminds me of how, like, cats, like, when they're chasing a string or something, in their head, they're like, oh, this is, like, I'm such a good hunter. Like, I'm gonna get that mouse or whatever. Because, they're idiots. So, like, essentially, I imagine, like, Stitch has that same vibe of, like, in his head, he's just like, oh, I'm such a good, like, Godzilla. I'm destroying this place, and he's really enjoying it. And, I find that endearing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So you would buy a stuffed toy of Stitch, then? A stuffed animal toy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, well, that's because when I was watching this, and I think I remember, like, Stitch toys when I was a kid. I was thinking, oh yeah, this must have sold so well, like all the Stitch toys, because it's like a cute animal, but it's not quite a cute. Well, he is a cute animal, but
he's less boring than just a plain old animal.
Exactly. Yes. He's not like a dog or a cat. But he's kind of like that. He's a cute, cuddly, furry animal, but he's a bit different. And
he's like a funzo.
Yeah, exactly. And the merchandising sales must have been incredible. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why Michael Eisner greenlit this project. He saw the dollar signs with they're just insane marketability with this Stitch animal. So I think that was maybe that is the main reason why this movie got made in the first place, honestly.
I think that is a very fair presumption.
Yes, and I was just thinking that while watching this, it was like, oh yeah, because I have a memory of it, but yeah, just knowing how much kids would love to buy this thing, or parents would buy it for them, and I don't think toy sales matter so much nowadays, because every kid's on their iPad. But back in the day when we used to actually have toys, because we grew up we are the greatest generation, because we actually had toys, not iPads.
I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, Luke, I truly believe that, and I think the younger generation should just they're screwed, and they had COVID.
Yeah,
we didn't have COVID, but we did have toys. I know which one I'd rather have. That's me though. Stitch causes chaos at the luau where Nani works while trying to avoid capture by Jumba and Pleakley. Nani's boss blames Nani for the chaos and she is fired. The news of Nani's unemployment reaches Bubbles, who orders Nani to find a new job and tells Lilo to teach Stitch to be a model citizen. I like how now, like, Bubbles is still, like, acting as if there's already the possibility of turning everything around in 3 days. And I was like, oh, and by the way, in 3 days you also have to find a job. But if you leave Lilo unattended, then you are an evil person and should be arrested.
Yes.
Yes. I will say, one thing about this luau lounge thing that they're at, or like restaurant, something I remember hearing about this film, which I was disappointed to see isn't the case, is I remember seeing a clip of some white people in this movie saying, oh look, it's a native, when they see Lilo. Like, that's like a clip I've seen, which I guess, there was a TV show.
But it was cut. Because it would be offensive to white Americans.
That is possibly true, yes. But essentially, like, and I thought, like, I remember hearing someone say, oh, like, Lilo and Stitch is about kind of the loss of the Hawaiian culture. Like, there's some kind of theme going on about colonialism and the plight of the Hawaiian natives.
So that is almost there. Because I think you have, what's she called? Nani. She calls the luau thing fake.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there is that kind of commercial thing about it.
Yeah. And there is this. The movie doesn't really go into it, but you can tell maybe from looking on the outside, there's this struggle for the Hawaiian residents. They can't really progress in their lives. They're forced to basically placate tourists with this, fake Hawaiian bullshit, and that's how they survive.
Yes.
And they're not really connected to their culture in a way which they'd like to anymore. And I think if the movie went into that and maybe also, talks about the fact that Hawaii, has been just taken advantage of basically by white Americans.
Culturally genocided.
Okay, let's not go that far. But well, maybe culturally genocide. I don't know. I don't actually know the details.
I do know. Apparently, they only have themselves to blame. That's what I learned. I watched a video about it. And it basically said that what happened is, it's kind of the classic situation. It's the rich screw over everyone else. Basically, the rulers of Hawaii auctioned off all of the Hawaiian land to make themselves rich. But you won't believe who bought all the Hawaiian land at the highest prices. Shockingly, it wasn't the Hawaiian natives.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. What can you do, eh?
Stupid rich people. I almost feel like they don't have the other people's best interests at heart.
From this country to Hawaii on the other side of the world, we need a class war. That's the only war that makes sense.
No war but class war.
Yes. I think honestly, the movie, it would have been better if it went into this a bit more.
Yeah.
But of course, it's a scared Disney movie that doesn't want to say anything. It's just a fun, stupid movie about an alien who stops being evil, an alien dog. I would like to have seen these kind of themes talked about in the movie, and it would have made the movie better, but they didn't want to go down that path, and that is, again, the frustration with this movie. As an adult, you can't really enjoy watching it, and this is one of the reasons why. Again, it was that deleted scene, and the situation that Nani finds herself in. You could have done some shit with that, but you just and Stitch becoming, you could have connected it to Stitch becoming less evil somehow. I don't know,
maybe white people learn to become less evil.
Maybe.
See, that would be. At the end of the day, you could still have it be have a little bit Disney if someone learns a lesson.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an evil white guy, so that all of the white people can watch and be like, well, at least I'm not like that evil white guy. And the evil white guy will be like, I want to tear this island down and replace it with an amusement park. That's his plan.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was all about.
And Lilo stops him.
Yeah, it was all about the amusement parks. Yeah, that's adding another villain, and that's the real, because there isn't really a villain in the movie, is there?
I was thinking that. Yeah, it is crazy because I think I kind of knew this movie didn't have a villain.
Yeah,
but I do think it probably could have benefited from one.
You have quasi villains, again the social workers kind of, but not really. You have the fucking captain at the end; he's not really a villain, and you have the scientist; he's not really a villain. So yeah, if you had an evil white guy who's trying to turn Hawaii into an amusement park, that would, again, accentuate the themes of, Hawaiian displacement, the natives being fucked over in their homeland. And, that would have made the movie better, but Disney are too cowardly, so...
Yeah, and I hate them, and I'll never forgive them. Despite Lilo's attempts to domesticate Stitch, his antics repeatedly ruin Nani's efforts to find a new job. I want to say the thing which I think everyone's thinking here on the subject of her trying to find a new job, which is that that lifeguard, everyone always says Nani's hot, but how about that lifeguard she speaks to, eh, Luke?
Right. So I'm not going to talk about the attractiveness of animated characters today.
Okay.
I just put in my notes, I would simply not bring my younger sister and my new rabid dog with me job hunting.
Yeah, it's also interesting she has no ability to disavow them. Okay, I don't know how obvious it was she brought them with her, but maybe keep them around so you can keep an eye on them. But if they do something shitty, just be like, oh, tell you what, as a lifeguard, look at these crazy kids you have running around on the beach. I could deal with them. In fact, I'm going to deal with this random strange girl right now and her crazy dog.
Also,
swag it out.
Also, I do love how this movie pays respect to native Hawaiian Elvis. I think that's really nice.
It's really interesting that they decide to get this incredibly famously white guy to be like, yeah, that's going to be who we're really going to big up in this movie.
I bet it was because Chris Sanders, the creator of this movie, I bet he loved Elvis. So
yeah,
I bet that's why there was so much
self-insert. It's like, well, when I write this, I wanted to make it sound more American. When I write this fantastic character, she's gonna love Elvis because I love Elvis. Yeah, that was a stupid thing. I don't know why I need to. that was really. I don't know why I felt the need to do an impression there. That should be cut, Luke, shouldn't it?
I think.
In fact, I will cut it for you.
No, you won't. I think that's one of the reasons why Roger Ebert liked the movie was because of Elvis. So I'll read his review. He says it's one of the most charming feature-length cartoons of recent years. But I don't know. Maybe Is it
Sometimes
charming?
Roger Ebert's a moron.
Okay. He says
More like
it's
Roger Egypt.
He says it's funny, sassy, startling, original, and with 6 songs by Elvis. So that's a bonus. It doesn't get sickeningly sweet at the end. It has as much stuff in it for grown-ups as for kids, and it has a bright, offbeat look to it. Okay, so the colours are nice, I guess, because you're in Hawaii, but it does not have as much for grown-ups as for kids, I'm sorry. Yeah. And look, it may not be sickeningly sweet at the end, but it's still, it isn't great. But we'll get to that at the end. But yeah, I just love how Roger Ebert was like, yeah, this movie's good because it's got Elvis songs in it. So
I just imagine him like Nelson Muntz listening to Andy Williams, just like really excited at the front of the, like around all the kids around you, see like his happy face, like, yeah.
Yeah. Richard Corliss felt the film is a bright, engaging bauble with a half dozen Elvis Presley songs for mom and dad and just enough sass. So there you go. All the boomers reviewing this were like, oh, well, it's not the best, but it's got Elvis in it, so I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Yes. Yeah, they're such consumers. This was like the MCU of its day, where they're just like, oh, I see the thing I recognize. I love it now.
Yeah, well, that's what Elvis was like to boomers, yeah.
Yeah. While Nani, Lilo, and Stitch go surfing with Nani's former co-worker and friend, David, Jumba and Pleaky Lee attempt to capture Stitch and unintentionally drag Lilo underwater. David rescues Lilo and Stitch, but Bubbles, having observed the mishap, tells Nani he will retrieve Lilo the following morning. What I find weird about this is, like, Lilo doesn't seem to acknowledge, like, I thought Lilo had some understanding of the, like, situation with the social worker, but then, like, you never see her like actually be like, oh man, I'm going to be taken away to a foster home. That sucks.
Yeah, that's a good point. She doesn't actually care. Like she does not give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, like, do social workers just stalk people? Is that what they do? I didn't think they did that, but maybe they do stalk people. I don't know. But
yeah, they're like just private eyes.
Yeah. The scene was with Stitch surfing, with all of them. That was fun. I like that. That was probably the best scene in the movie, just because it was like, oh yeah, like how cool is surfing in Hawaii? It must be so cool. And he's just there surfing. And
I'm worried about sharks, but it occurs to me, having like a alien monster with you, I feel like that would offer some significant protection. So I wish I had an alien monster.
Yeah, I don't think there's many sharks in Hawaii, to be honest with you.
Good.
Yeah, but yeah, he is growing as a character, Stitch, because the scientist is like, the evil one, Dr. Jumba, whatever he's called. He's like, oh yeah, why is he going back to water? He would drown in water, so why is he going back there? It's because he's overcoming his fears or whatever. I don't know. Again,
it shows development.
It shows character growth. He's adopting the new ways of the natives, which is what you should do if you move to Hawaii.
Feeling guilty for causing so much trouble, Stitch runs away. Doesn't solve the problem, does he? Having failed to capture Stitch, the Grand Councilwoman fires Jumba and Pleakley and tasks her second-in-command, Captain Gantu, with capturing Stitch. Now free, Jumba begins hunting Stitch using less covert methods, causing an explosion that destroys the house. I love the fact that it's just like that. At this point, the social worker's got to be thinking, yeah, actually, you know what, I'm basically a hero for taking this kid away. Like, sometimes I feel mean, but oh my god, like, the house explodes. I've been here 3 days. The house explodes. Get out of here.
Yeah, I know. Like, the craziness that happens. There's no way. I'm sorry. There's just no way Lilo should be with Nani. Just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like what's that fucking movie? I Am Sam.
Yes.
Yeah. When
you love complaining about that.
Sean Penn is like, yeah, I'm like mentally retarded, but I think I should have access to my daughter who's 7 years old, even though she's like already smarter than me. I think I should look after her. And the evil lawyers tried to stop it from happening, even though, of course, it makes absolute sense for that to be the case. And yeah, again, you see here with Lilo, she could have died several times. Nani is a horrible guardian, and she deserves jail time, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. Do you hear about those like stories of like kids? Parents who like go to like job interviews and they like leave their kids at like McDonald's while they're doing the job interview, and then they get arrested. Well, that's what should happen to her.
Yeah, that's basically what Nani has done. Yeah.
She's an evil person.
But yeah, obviously there is a connection between Stitch and the ugly duckling. He doesn't quite fit in, just like Lilo doesn't quite fit in, you see. And just like Hawaii doesn't really fit in the West either.
Exactly, yeah.
Again, they should have developed that. They should have done that, but no, they're fucking cowards. Anyway, let's move on.
I mean, yeah. Like, the ugly duckling parallel is a bit weird, because obviously the point of the ugly duckling is that like signets are like grey and gross, but like the Stitch doesn't. No one bullies Stitch for being ugly, but who cares? All right. Nani gets the job, but returns home after seeing a fire engine driving toward her house. Bubbles arrives to retrieve Lilo. While Bubbles and Nani argue about Lilo's well-being, Lilo runs away into the woods and encounters Stitch, who reveals his alien identity just moments before Gantu captures them both. Yeah, I will say, like, so there's kind of a sense of Lilo and Stitch fall out, but they don't really even like commit to this, which is kind of it's a very it's a trope to have like, oh, the characters kind of fall out in the towards the end, it's setting up the third act. And I guess in it being a trope, I don't really care about them committing to it, but still, shame on them for failing to commit to it.
Yeah, you're right. They don't commit to it, do they? And it's a bit shit because I was expecting there to be some
more drama.
Some drama, but no, they don't even do that. Again, it's quite underdeveloped and. I think the real hero of this movie, he's not even a quasi-villain. The real hero is Bubbles, to be honest with you.
Yes.
For putting up with all this shit.
Stitch manages to escape just as Gantu's ship takes off. Nani confronts Stitch, but Jumba and Pleakley, I don't really like the name Pleakley. It's such a weird... Immediately capture him.
No, it's meant to be a gay, effeminate name.
Ah, Pleakley. Yeah, you've got to have your gay-coded characters.
Yeah.
Nani asks them to save Lilo, but they insist they only have legal authority to capture Stitch. As Nani breaks down, Stitch remembers Ohana, a term for family he learned from Lilo, and convinces Jumba to help rescue her. Yeah, they have a little rescue.
Okay,
That's exciting, isn't it?
This was so frustrating, man. Well, again, it's just a stupid fucking kids movie, but it would be good if, Jumba was like, hey, this 626 experiment, he's behaving like this caring animal. What's he doing? I was wrong about him. I thought I created a monster. I actually created, a sentient life which deserves love and respect and can love and respect others. I don't think he should say that, but he's kind of
communicate that is a sentiment he's beginning to feel.
Yes, because he Stitch is like, hey, can you rescue Lilo for us, please? And he's just like, okay, fine. Even though he's been trying to capture him throughout the whole movie. And
yes, it's a bit of a switch.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a legit reason to change your mind because you see how caring this animal is. Who you thought was just this experiment gone wrong. Okay, you've convinced me. You've changed me. You've opened my eyes. I'm having a character arc now. I'm not just changing on a dime because it'd be funny. So there's a reason right there. But he does espouse that. So instead we just have him switch sides and now he's on the good guy's side. So that's great. But yeah, like I said, it's just there's some effort that is lacking here, I feel.
Yes, I would absolutely agree. And it's just, like the characters, there's not really any strong character arcs. And I think part of the issue is, like Stitch kind of can't interact with the people pursuing him very much otherwise because, they're supposed to be chasing him. And yeah, I feel like it's kind of like the starting position of the characters makes it quite difficult because Jubba's just like a crazy scientist. So obviously he's, so it's kind of hard to write him to be like, oh,
yeah, so
I'm changing my mind.
So everything is underdeveloped, basically.
I guess.
Which is kind of what I've been saying. The plot, the characters, again, and it makes sense considering the movie's 80 minutes. But yeah, let's go on to Ohana, Michael.
Yes. While researching in Kauai, animators learned about the Hawaiian concept of Ohana, extended family. This idea became the film's core theme, influencing Stitch's character arc. Now, you know what's weird about that? Like, it's not really... The way it's presented in the film isn't really about extended family, is it? Like, they kind of present it as being about... Because, like, they say it's about, like, what their dad taught them, which implies, actually, if anything, it's almost about being very loyal to your immediate family.
Well, Ohana, it doesn't mean, like, accepting people into your family. Like... Because I guess maybe, yeah. If that's what it means, then it makes sense. And it's good that they set the movie in Hawaii because they've got a Hawaiian concept for Stitch.
Yes.
Or for Nani and Lilo accepting Stitch. So yeah. But I don't know if it does it influence Stitch's character arc? Because the thing is, if he never had a family and he was depressed about not having a family, then it would make sense. But again,
or like the fact he was made in a test tube.
Yeah, but we never hear him be sad about. Again, he's a fucking weird alien animal, but he's not sad about being alone. He's not sad about not having a family. And again, maybe if the movie took some time beforehand to establish that, then that would be great, and then that would make the movie better. And that would actually give him a proper character arc. Now he's accepted into this new family, but again, it doesn't seem like he's that pissed off about it, to be honest. Because that's the thing. Even with the ugly duckling thing, right? The ugly duckling is part of a family that doesn't like him, and he so you would assume because of that, and it would also enhance the character arc. Stitch would therefore be part of a family beforehand.
Yeah, share that character arc.
Or didn't, maybe not be part of a family, but would be would feel isolated because he doesn't have a family. He'd see other people with families or other aliens or whatever with families, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm depressed because I don't have one." But the movie doesn't take the effort to do that. So there you go.
The film's extraterrestrial elements, such as the spaceships, were designed to resemble marine life, such as whales and crabs. One altered scene in the film involves Stitch, Nani, Jumba, and Pleakley hijacking a Boeing 747 jet from the airport that scrapes against buildings through downtown Honolulu. But after the September 11th attacks, with only a few weeks left in production, the climax was completely reworked to have them use Jumba's spacecraft instead. The location was also shifted to have them fly through the mountains of Kauai instead. Sorry, I don't know why I read instead at all. Oh, anyway. Regardless, the final design still has engines that resemble the 747's jet engines, according to Sanders. That's so funny. That's crazy.
There you go.
That's the worst one. That's like even worse than, like the whole Spider-Man and catching those people between the Twin Towers.
Bro, if they release those Lilo and Stitch storyboards September 11th in Honolulu, God, I'd love to see that. But yeah, I just thought that was funny.
That is really great.
Yeah.
The Grand Councilwoman arrives to retrieve Stitch herself. However, after observing Stitch's civilized behavior and being informed that Lilo legally owns Stitch because she bought him at the animal shelter, the Grand Councilwoman decrees that Stitch will live out his exile on Earth, and the Pelikai family is under the protection of the United Galactic Federation. Bubbles reveals he is a former CIA agent who has previously met the Grand Councilwoman in Roswell, New Mexico in 1973. Yeah, I will say, it's kind of funny because this is almost like the character arc that you were saying of like someone realizing and appreciating that Stitch is like different from how they thought, but it's like this woman who basically is not a character for the entire movie. So
yes,
that probably wasn't a smart move to have like the main person who comes to a character realization be the woman who literally has no role in most of the film.
That is a really good point. Yeah. That's
terrible.
Good. Yeah, and I'm just interested with how they came up with the Bubbles character as well. Just again, but yeah, I think they were like, well, we need this CIA influence because the CIA always has to be in our Disney movies.
Of course, yeah,
has to have an influence. And they, especially in a movie about aliens, because we have to know that the CIA are there to keep us safe. I don't know, like New Mexico, 1973. Or Roswell, 1973. Roswell was 51, wasn't it?
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Well, who cares? But anyway, everything is wrapped up in a neat little package. Everyone is like, oh, we're friends now, because again, like we said, there's no villain. So,
yes.
Therefore...
So it's very easy to solve conflict.
Yes, exactly. It is easy to solve conflict when there is no real villain, yes.
Yes, it makes life so much easier. If only there were no real villains in real life. Stitch, Jumba, and Pleakley have joined Lilo and Nani's family, rebuild their house with David and Bubbles' help. Why is Bubbles like, what? Bubbles is just way too much of a simp. Like, he needs to sort it out, man.
Yeah, he's a CIA agent. He is also a social worker, and he works in construction too.
And he's black.
And he is black, which we haven't mentioned.
He's a triple threat.
Up until now. He's a colonizer, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly,
He's thousands of miles away from his home.
What an arsehole.
When I say home, I mean in America, not Africa.
Oh, I thought you were saying that the Africans. My understanding is that Africans colonized the deep south of America.
Yeah, that's what happened. They colonized it. Anyway, let's conclude.
I shall. The thing is, we kind of covered it, but essentially, it's not. The classic thing is like, is this just like, the standard for a kids movie or whatever? But I think we clarified, no, there are like other movies of which it can be much more accurately said, this has stuff for adults to enjoy. This has like, is a really well told story. And maybe if anything, it implies that Disney should really just go back to adapting other people's stuff, because the one time that they tried to tell an original story, they accidentally kind of ripped off E.T. and then seemingly got so scared of ripping off E.T. even more that they refused to actually like have any kind of exciting story. So that's not a good sign. For me, I think I'm going to give it I don't think that I can ultimately say that I liked this film considering all the criticisms. I was going to give it a middling 4, just because there's like so little to appreciate there, and there's like a few things that I dislike. For me, middling 4 is like, you could watch this, but there's not really a reason to. And that's kind of my stance. So yeah, but I think you're right that a kid would enjoy it, because kids are idiots. So well, what do you think, Luke? Are you an idiot?
No. What did you give out of 10?
Middling 4.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking that. Literally, I was thinking 4 to 5. So yeah, I'm going to give it 4.5, because I do think there was a lot of things which could be improved. The plot, the character arcs, just in general, like more shit needs to happen in the movie, either with actual plot developments or with the characters having better arcs. Because I do think there is potential here. I do like the concept And I do think the setting works. It's a unique setting, Hawaii. And that was the first time Disney went there, I think, for any movie. So yeah, and you have the concept of Ohana. You have there's this concept of the native Hawaiians struggling. Which they didn't really talk about Disney because they're so cowardly. They should have done it because it would have made the movie more interesting. And that's really where, for me, it falls down. As an adult watching, I don't really find anything interesting. I don't find the dynamic between Lilo and Stitch interesting. I don't find Stitch that interesting. I don't find, again, what happens in the movie that interesting. For kids who are, under 10 years old, they would like this. But yeah, I can't really believe that from rewatching it back that it's getting a remake. I mean, because I guess it was somewhat popular and Disney are just quite desperate, but
yeah,
it's not.
I mean, who knows? Like, maybe for once in their life, they'll actually improve on the original. It's got to happen one of these days.
Maybe they will, but I doubt it. So yeah, 4.5 out of 10 for me. What are we doing next time?
Next week we're reviewing I don't know, Luke. Like, what am I supposed to say? We're reviewing this movie called Jim Carter.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, when you first told me we were reviewing this movie, I assumed it was like a guy whose first name was Jim and his second name was Carter. But no, instead it's some kind of like kung fu thing. I didn't decide to watch it in advance, Luke.
Right.
Sometimes with these movies, I do watch them in advance so that I can, offer my... I mean, it's literally like we say, we evaluate them beyond first impressions.
Yeah, okay, right, fine.
In this case, we'll see.
Okay, so yeah, join us next week for Jim Carter. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
Actually, you know what? Shit, we were going to guess what Lilo and Stitch was going to get on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, the remake.
That's good.
We do. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Okay, go.
Yes, all right, okay, all right.
3, 2, 1, 76.
65.
Okay, wow. So you think...
We'll see.
65, I went for 76.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I feel like last time I kind of had... Like, I feel like last time... Didn't we predict a Disney remake recently? And I had, like, confidence it would be pretty decent. And then, was it terrible? What happened?
Oh, I can't remember.
There was, like, a bit of a drama or something where one of us was, like, way off because Disney really let the side down, I think.
Yeah, who knows at the end of the day, Michael. But yeah, join us next week for Jim Carter. Goodbye.
Goodbye.